A sexless marriage doesn't make a man feel unsatisfied. It makes him feel unloved. And that is a far deeper wound than anyone ever gives him credit for, including the man carrying it. It's late. You reached over in the dark, the way you have 100 times across all these years, and you felt her whole body go still under your hand. And then it came, quiet and tired. I'm exhausted, hun. Maybe tomorrow. And you pulled your hand back. You rolled over to your own cold edge of the bed, and you lay there staring up at the ceiling, and something inside you went quiet and hard and made a decision. That's the last time I do that. That's the last time I set myself up to get turned down by my own wife. And you were right. You haven't reached for her since. You taught yourself to stop wanting out in the open, because wanting out in the open got you rejected, and a man can only take that so many times before he locks it down. So now you keep to your side. You say goodnight, you stay polite, and every single night you lie 6 inches and 1,000 miles from the woman you married, and you tell yourself you've made your peace with it, but you haven't, because this thing is doing something to you, slowly, in the dark, that you've never once had the words for. And tonight, I'm going to give you the words, and then I'm going to give you the way out. I'm Dr. Joyce McCarthy, a couples intimacy coach here in the U.S., and I have sat across from more good men in your exact spot than I could ever count. Strong men, capable men, men who run companies and raise families and carry everybody else on their backs, and who are quietly starving inside a marriage where their wife stopped reaching back years ago. And here's why you ought to hear this from me in particular. I am a woman, so I can tell you the truth about what this is doing to you. And I can also tell you the truth about what's happening on her side of that bed, the part you've been getting wrong this whole time, the part that is the actual key to fixing it. So pour yourself something. Sit with me. Before I go on, do one thing for me. Down in the comments, give me one word for what this has turned you into. Angry, distant, hollow, numb. Whatever the truest word is for you tonight. You don't owe anybody an explanation underneath it, but scroll down once you've left it, because you are going to see hundreds of other men who left the very same word, men who look perfectly fine, who hold it all together every single day, and who feel exactly what you feel the second the lights go out. You are not the only one. You never were. Leave your word and come back to me. All right. The first thing you have to understand is something you were never taught about your own self. For you, sex was never really just sex. For most men, it is the main way they feel loved. It is the one place a man gets to lay his guard all the way down, where he stops being the provider and the fixer and the strong one, and just gets to feel wanted and chosen and close. So when your wife stopped reaching for you, your body didn't only lose a physical release. You lost the main channel that love came through. You don't feel unsatisfied. You feel unloved. And because that was the one language you had for closeness, you've got almost no other way to get the need met. A woman has her friends, her sisters, her long phone calls, a dozen places she pours her heart out. A great many men have exactly one place, and yours went silent. And here's what that silence slowly becomes inside a man. One no is just a no. You can shrug off one no, but night after night, month after month, year after year, all those small rejections stop feeling like not tonight and start feeling like a verdict. I don't want you. And it compounds. It piles higher and higher until it stops being about sex at all and becomes a quiet sentence handed down on you as a man. You start to wonder if she's even attracted to you anymore, if you've gotten old or soft or undesirable, if some other man would do it for her where you can't. A sexless marriage will take a confident man, a man who is sure of himself everywhere else in his whole life, and quietly convince him that at his very core, in the one place that's supposed to be just his, he is not wanted. And that doubt does not stay in the bedroom. It follows him to work, into the mirror, into how he carries himself when he walks into a room. And there's a particular humiliation buried in this that women rarely understand. So let me name it for you plainly. The asking. Every time you reach for your wife, you are standing in the most exposed, most vulnerable position a man ever stands in. You're laying your wanting out in the open with nothing to hide behind and handing her the power to take it or refuse it. And when she refuses, again, you feel like you got caught begging, like you had to ask for something a wife is supposed to want to give freely. And there is almost nothing on this earth that grinds a man down like feeling he has to beg to be wanted by his own wife. So eventually, to save what's left of his pride, he quits asking altogether. He stops reaching. And the silence he picks to escape the humiliation becomes its own slow poison. Because now he isn't getting rejected anymore, but he isn't getting wanted either. And a man needs to be wanted almost the way he needs air. And then comes a loneliness with a particular bite to it, the kind only married men ever taste. Because a single man who's lonely at least understands his own situation. He's alone, so he feels alone, and the math adds up. But you are not alone. She's right there, in your bed, in your kitchen, woven through your whole life. You love her, you want her, and she is 6 inches away and completely out of reach at the one level that would actually make you feel close to her. A great many men will tell you, quietly, that being lonely inside a marriage is far worse than being lonely and single ever was, because being single never made you any promises. Marriage promised you this, and living right next to the broken promise of it every single day is a cold all its own that settles deep into a man's bones. And if any of this is hitting home, if you're sitting there a little stunned that somebody is finally saying the thing you've never said to a living soul, do me a kindness and tap subscribe. Here's my honest reason. There is almost nowhere on this earth a man can go to hear this talked about straight, without the jokes, without being told to just toughen up and be grateful, by someone who actually understands both sides of that cold bed. This little corner is that place. When you subscribe, you're telling yourself that you're done suffering this in silence and that you're going to do the work to get your marriage back instead of slowly going numb inside it. So tap it, and I'll be right here every week telling you the truth, man to man, through me. You have far too much life left to spend it this hollow. Now here's a part of this that does more quiet damage than all the rest, and most men never catch it happening. When you lost that physical closeness, you didn't only shut down in the bedroom. You started shutting down everywhere. Because for you, sex was the doorway to dropping your guard at all. And once that door got shut in your face enough times, you stopped opening any of the others. You stopped telling her about your day, the real version of it. You stopped sharing the worries sitting on your chest, the fear about work, the things that actually move you. Because a man asks himself, why on earth would I make myself that vulnerable to someone who turns me away at the most vulnerable thing there is? So you went quiet. You got efficient. You talk about the bills and the kids and the gutters and nothing at all underneath. And she feels you pull away, and she reads it as you no longer caring. The whole marriage goes cold, and the love didn't die. You just buried it alive to protect it. And what does a man do with all that buried hurt? It turns on him. Grief turns to frustration. Frustration hardens into resentment, and resentment, left to sit long enough, curdles into a low, flat hopelessness that trails him everywhere he goes. In a woman, that pain often comes out as tears. In a man, it usually comes out as something else entirely. Anger over small things, a short fuse with the kids, a few more drinks than he used to take, working later than he needs to because the office feels better than a house where he feels unwanted. Letting himself go, the gym card gathering dust, the weight creeping on, because what is the point of staying sharp for a body that nobody reaches for anymore? The man slowly becomes a functioning, hollowed-out version of himself, going through all the motions of a full life while dead in the one place that used to make him feel alive. People who knew him 10 years ago wonder where his spark went. His spark went quiet the same year his marriage did, and he carries every ounce of it completely alone, more alone than she ever has to, because a woman, as much as this wounds her, can usually find one friend to whisper it to. A man cannot. Think about it honestly. Where would you even take this? You can't tell the guys at work. You can't tell your buddies at the game who would turn it into a joke before you finished the sentence. You can't tell your father, your brother, your grown son. The shame of it, admitting that your own wife doesn't want you, is more than most men will ever admit to another living human being. So you say nothing. You laugh along, you talk about the ball game, you keep the mask bolted on tight, and you carry the single heaviest thing in your life entirely by yourself, in total silence. And a wound that nobody else even knows about is a wound that never once gets the chance to heal. And I have to be honest with you about something else, because you need to hear it from a woman who isn't going to shame you for it. A starving man becomes a vulnerable man. When you spent years feeling unwanted, the first place that offers you back the feeling of being desired is going to pull at you with a force that might genuinely scare you. For some men, it's the screen, the thing that asks nothing of you and never rejects you. For some, it's the woman at work who laughs at his jokes and lights up when he walks in, and all of a sudden he's thinking about her on the drive home. These pulls are not proof that you're a bad man. They are proof of how starved you've become. They're a flare going up from a part of you that's been ignored for years, screaming that it needs to be fed. I'm telling you this so that when that pull comes, and for a lot of you it will, you'll recognize it for exactly what it is, and you'll feed the real hunger underneath it before it talks you into burning down everything you've spent a lifetime building. And then there's the moment, usually somewhere around year 4 or 5 of the silence, when a man just quietly gives up. He stops hoping. He decides this is simply what marriage turns into, that he'll white-knuckle it for the kids or the house or the years already sunk into it, and feel this way until the day he dies. He files the wanting away in a drawer and tells himself he's made his peace. But a man living in that resignation is not at peace. He's just slowly dying in place. And so is his marriage. And somewhere deep down, he knows it. That quiet giving up is the most dangerous place of all, because it dresses itself up as acceptance when it's really just surrender. Now, I have named the whole wound, every last part of it, because you needed to hear it spoken at last by someone who sees it clearly. But I did not come here tonight to leave you sitting in it. So lift your head, because here is the way out, and a great deal of it is going to land exactly opposite to what your gut has been screaming at you to do. The first thing, the one that changes everything, is this. It is almost never about you. I know it feels personal. I know every single rejection felt like a verdict on you as a man. But hear me, because I'm a woman and I'm telling you the truth. The vast majority of the time, your wife pulling away has nothing to do with your desirability and everything to do with what's happening inside her. Her bone-deep exhaustion, her body changing in ways she's ashamed of, her own buried feeling of being unwanted as a person, the resentment she's been quietly carrying that has nothing to do with the bedroom at all. You've been reading her no as I don't want you, when what it almost always means is I can't get there from where I am right now. And the day you stop taking it as a verdict on you and start seeing it as a problem the two of you are stuck inside of together, the whole thing begins to shift. It stops being you against her and becomes the two of you against the thing. And here's the part that's going to be the hardest to swallow. So I need you to really take it all the way in. For most women, desire runs backward from how it runs in you. Yours shows up first on its own and points you toward her. Hers doesn't work that way. Hers shows up second, after she already feels safe and close and connected and cared for. The connection comes first for her, and the wanting follows along behind it, which means the road back to her body runs straight through everything outside the bedroom. And it means something harder still. A whole lot of what you've been doing to try to get there has been quietly shoving her further away. Think about it honestly. If the only time you ever really touch her or give her warm attention is when you're after sex, then she's learned that your warmth comes with a price tag, and she pulls back from all of it. If you've gone cold and resentful and short with her, no woman alive opens up to a man she feels disapproves of her. If you sulk every time she says no, then you've taught her that her no costs her something. And a woman who can't freely say no can never once freely say yes. Every one of those moves, the pressure, the sulking, the coldness, the touching her only as a means to an end, has been pouring cold water on the very fire you're trying so hard to light. So here is what you actually do, and almost none of it is what your panic wants you to do. You stop making every touch a move. You hug her, hold her hand, rub her shoulders, and you let it lead absolutely nowhere, on purpose, for weeks, until her body relearns that your hands are safe again and don't always arrive with a bill attached. You start paying real attention to her as a person and not a body. You ask about her day and you actually stay for the answer. You make her feel seen and wanted for exactly who she is in the moments when there's no chance on earth of it leading anywhere. Because that's the thing that finally tells her she's loved and not merely used. You pick up her load, and this one is bigger than any candle or any weekend trip. A woman drowning under everything she carries cannot find desire anywhere underneath all that weight. So you take whole jobs off her plate and you carry them without being asked twice. To an exhausted woman, a man who lightens her load is a powerfully attractive thing because you've made her feel supported. And feeling supported is the soil her desire grows up out of. You drop the criticism, every bit of it, the nitpicking, the comments about how she does this or that, the disapproval she can feel coming off you. She will not be naked and open and vulnerable with a man she feels judged by. Make her feel admired instead, and watch the walls begin to come down on their own. And then you do the single bravest thing a man in your position can do. You let her see the truth, gently, with no anger in it at all. You sit her down and you say, not, "You never want me," which is a spear she'll just dodge, but the real thing underneath it. "I miss you. I feel lonely lying next to you. And somewhere in here, I've started to feel like you don't want me anymore. And it has been quietly breaking me." That is not weakness. That is the most powerful thing you own. And most women have no idea their husband is dying inside because he's hidden it behind anger and silence for years. The honest words can open a door that 10 years of reaching never could. And one last thing, just for you. Stop making her the only source of your worth and your closeness. Go get strong again. Go find your friends, your purpose, the things that used to make you feel like a man standing on his own 2 feet. Because when your entire sense of being wanted hangs on one woman, on one given night, you leak desperation, and she feels every drop of it, and it pushes her away. A man with a full life of his own, a man who isn't drowning, is a man who finally stops pressuring. And a man who stops pressuring is a man a woman can at last begin to move toward. And here is the warning that goes with every bit of it, because this is exactly where most men get it wrong. You cannot do any of this as a transaction. If you carry her load and court her and drop the criticism while quietly keeping score the whole time, waiting for the payout, counting the days until it earns you your way back into bed, she will feel that agenda coming off you like heat off a stove, and the whole thing falls apart because it's just pressure again, wearing a nicer shirt. You have to actually mean it. You have to decide you're going to love her this way because she deserves it, and because you want your wife back. And then you have to let go of the timeline completely. This takes months, not nights. There will be whole weeks where you do everything right and see nothing change at all. And the old bitterness will lean in and whisper that it isn't working and you should just quit. Don't you listen to it. You spent years teaching her body that reaching for you wasn't safe. And you do not unteach that in a weekend. You unteach it slowly, with patience, by becoming a man she can trust with her guard all the way down, one ordinary day at a time. I worked with a man from Knoxville, Tennessee, married 26 years, who came to me hard and bitter and halfway out the door. 6 years of being turned down, and he'd gone cold as stone, working late, sleeping in the spare room, barely speaking to his wife except to manage the house between them. And I told him the hardest thing I ever tell a man: stop chasing it. Stop sulking. Start completely over. Court her like she was brand new. Carry her load. Drop the digs and tell her the plain truth about how lonely you'd been, with not one drop of anger in it. He fought me on every single word because it all felt like losing, like doing the giving while she gave nothing back. But he was desperate enough to try. So he started doing the dishes without a word about it. He started asking about her day and staying for the whole answer. And one night he told her, with his voice shaking, that he had felt unwanted for years and it was killing him. And she broke down right there because she'd had no idea. She had thought he'd gone cold because he stopped loving her, and she'd pulled away to protect herself from that. They had both been protecting themselves from the very same wound, back to back, for 6 long years. It took months, not days, but he got his wife back. And he told me the thing that finally turned, it wasn't any trick at all. It was the day he quit demanding to be wanted and started making her feel wanted instead. So hear me, before you go back to that quiet bed tonight. What this marriage has done to you is real, and it is heavy, and you have carried it alone and in silence, the way men are taught to, for far too long. But it has not made you any less of a man, whatever those long, dark nights have whispered to you. And the way back was never to demand more, or push harder, or finally make her see what she owes you. The way back is to turn toward her, lower your guard, carry her weight, and make her feel as wanted as you have been aching to feel. You go first. You give her the safety, and the wanting follows it home. That is not weakness. That is the strongest thing a man ever does. And do one last thing for me. If anything I said tonight reached you, give this video a like so it finds the next man lying awake on his own cold edge of the bed, certain he's the only one, who needs to hear that he isn't and that it is not too late. And then think of a man you care about, the one who's gone a little quiet, a little hard, a little hollow, who jokes about his marriage in a way that doesn't quite sound like joking. Send him this, man to man, with 4 little words. This made me think of you. You might be the one who hands him back a marriage he'd already given up for dead. You are not unloved, and you are far from finished. Turn toward her tonight. I'll see you next time.